Beyond the Obvious. And today I have my special guest. She's a storytelling and communication expert, and of course, an author too, revealing how women experts build career from scratch in their life. A TEDx organizer as well as a YouTuber, none other than Miss Ana Denis.
Hi, Danielle.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Miss Anna on Abstract Essay. Can you please introduce more about yourself that
Well, very briefly, I'm a communications coach. I'm one of the organizers of TEDx The Hague. I'm an author. My first book has been recently published, and I'm a mentor in the Female Entrepreneurship Program, empowering women to create their businesses worldwide.
So you are fit to my Entrepreneurship 101, another podcast of mine for sure. I will invite you for that, Miss Anna. So on Abstract Essay, we celebrate you with my cheering squad. Yes, thank you for being part on Abstract Essay. And today, let's talk about being you. You interviewed over 100 women for Reinvento. What was the single most unexpected emotional truth they all shared about starting over in midlife?
One interesting thing that we all discovered was, and let me start with a story, because when I started to write this book, it actually started as a reinvention of my own. So I was in a new country. I just moved to the Netherlands at that point, and I was trying to figure out what to do because the business landscape of this country is very different to like whatever country you're from. It will be different. So I was
Mhm.
trying to adjust myself and just see what's out there, and should I go with my previous experience? Should I rely on my skills and something that I do well, and also the labels I acquired throughout life? Or should I go with something new and just rely on my passion? So that was the big question. And I started to interview those women. And at that moment, I felt incredibly lonely because I was like, yeah, it's not really a comfortable place when you're trying to find an answer to the question, who are you now, in
Mhm.
midlife? So in midlife, you are supposed to have everything figured out already, right? So
Yes.
that's why not a lot of people are changing their career paths or switching countries in midlife. And that was that was the thought that was stuck in my mind. Like, am I the only one just trying to figure things out, trying to build my new life? And what I discovered, coming back to your question about the unexpected thing, what I discovered is that there are so many people who feel just the same. So many, like their ages range from 35 to 60 or even 70, and they
Mhm.
still have the feeling they don't have everything figured out. They're still allowing themselves to reinvent themselves, their careers, and their lives. And that was a beautiful moment.
A beautiful moment indeed. Your book subtitle mentions reinventing both career and identity. Why is it impossible to do one without the other, especially for women expats?
Right. So when you first start with reinventing your career, and you basically sit at home, open your CV, open your LinkedIn, look at your career path, and by midlife, we all have our limitations. None of us are free. So we have mortgages, we have kids, we have other obligations and people in our lives we need to care for and also provide for. So you can't say that you're free in this choice. And a lot of people feel stuck because they take a look at their skills and they are, well, they don't want to continue in the same direction because that just doesn't give them that fulfillment and that sense of belonging as well. So you just look at what you did, what you've been doing your whole life, and you're trying to rely on the skills that you had. But then you quickly realize that this doesn't work because if you rely on the same skills, on the cover letter and CV that you've built throughout your career, you will get the same result. You will get a very similar position at a very similar company. But there's a deep desire. Well, there was a deep desire in me, definitely, to change something, to change the path, to rewrite it. And then as you start to rethink your career path and where you're going, that becomes a question of identity. So many of us just have our identities grounded in our labels and in our careers. We get accustomed to being a representative of a certain company, of a certain big name, or we get stuck in our position and title labels, right? So you love to be a CEO or a senior procurement manager or a head of a certain department, and that label sticks to you. And it's too scary to let it go. Not too many people venture into letting these labels, the status labels, go. And then you just start to, you know, see the layers of your identity. So there's the layer of what happened to you in the past and how you see yourself in the past. There's also the layer like how other people see you, which might not be aligned with how you see yourself, especially with women. I mean, we are always struggling with that imposter syndrome, and we like so many. Spoke to so many beautiful and amazingly clever women when I was writing this book, but almost all of them said like, "I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'm successful. I'm not sure if I have made it, if I have built a career," which was so refreshing to hear because when you only see the outside of the facade of a certain person, you assume, like, you go to their LinkedIn and you're like, wow, she worked for Google, Microsoft. She has those exquisite brands on her resume from the technology or any other sphere. And still, when you start to talk to people, when you just ask them questions like, what do you think about your career? How do you see your career? And then you discover that they say, like, I haven't made it yet. I'm not successful. So that was also a very interesting thing. And eventually, I believe that to reinvent yourself and reinvent your career, a true reinvention happens when all those layers of your identity are aligned. That's what also many people call it, like, authentic personal brand or being authentic. And to do that, you have to really dig deeper and answer the question, who am I? Who am I really? What's me? Is it my beliefs? Is it my previous experience? To which degree should I rely on that previous experience? And to which degree I can just rely on something that attracts me right now and something that appeals to me right now? Is this passion fleeting or will it stay? And there are so many questions when it comes to switching careers. But once you dig deep in your identity and who you are and what your values are, your core values, then it becomes much easier to build the path from there. And this path will be sustainable and stable.
Well said, Miss Anna. Many women fear that reinvention in midlife means starting from zero. Based on your research, what are they actually bringing with them that's more valuable than a resume?
Right. So that is a very popular misconception. I wouldn't even say that it's a misconception. That's just how we feel. If you're thinking about quitting your day job and starting a new career, essentially there is a part of you, there is this voice that says, like, how are you going to do that? You're an imposter, you don't have experience, you should start from scratch. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure because as we mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, none of us are free. We all have our limitations. We have to pay rent, we have to pay mortgage. And if you're not making this new venture sustainable, then it probably doesn't make sense. That's what like a part of you is saying at this moment. And then when you start to analyze and dig deeper, you just discover that um, if you look at your previous experience, if you look at your skills, so let's say you were a marketing manager previously. So you've built some skills. You have knowledge of certain platforms, and you have experience with social media, and you know how algorithms work. And then you want to start your own business because you also, I don't know, love to draw, and you'd love to produce comic books, let's say, and oh yeah, comic books, and then there's naturally a question like comic books and marketing that's too far away from one another. But when you truly start to compare what it looks like on the inside, what it looks like daily, what both of these professions, let's say, and ventures look like daily, you will find a lot of similarities. Moreover, if you're naturally attracted to something, if you know that, like, let's say at some point of my life, I felt like that one of my passions is antiquities. I had no connection to the world of antiquities, no connection whatsoever. I never imagined myself an antique dealer. But then I just, there are some ways to analyze and some tests to analyze your superpowers and understand your core skills and core values. And then one of my core values turned to be appreciation of beauty and excellence. And then I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's what happened. That's why I'm attracted to antiquities, because I appreciate beautiful things. I appreciate things that, like, in a museum, I can stand next to a beautiful painting for hours and just um, yeah, and just in awe and admiration of the talent of the painter. And it's kind of the same skill. So if something appeals to you, even if it seems totally disconnected from what you were doing previously, there are still some parts, values, beliefs, or talents that unite it all in one core skill. And being able to see that is truly valuable, because that's what gives you an idea that you are not starting from scratch. You are not. You have already built the experience, you have already built certain habits and skills, and you can use them in your new profession. One of the women I interviewed went from being a lawyer to being a data analyst in a technology company. And at first, again, like being a lawyer and being a data analyst in a technology company, those are two very different worlds and two very different professions. But when she basically, the reason she was doing that, she moved countries, she switched countries, and in a new country, if you have graduated as a lawyer, you have to start from scratch, unfortunately. So it was up to her to find her new self and a new job in a new country. So what she made a decision to go into technology and continue in technology, and then she learned how to become a quality engineer, and then quickly moved to the data analyst as well. And then when she actually started to do that daily, she realized that being a lawyer and being a data analyst has a lot in common. You have to talk to your customers. You have to understand requirements. You have to you have to have the ability to quickly analyze big amounts of data and requirements from your prospect. So that's something that unites both professions, even though on the surface they look completely different. So I would say if you feel that you're starting from scratch, you're not. There's definitely some reason behind this attraction and behind your passion, behind the reason you want to switch. And in that new field, you already have some experience. You just need to learn how to see it.
Beautifully articulated, Miss Anna. After 20 years at YouTube and Google, you say human connection matters far more than tools or algorithms. What's a concrete example where polished presentation failed, but a raw, imperfect story won?
Right. So that was something that I discovered once I moved to the Netherlands. Because before that, first, I have been very introverted. I'm still
Mhm.
a super introverted person. I love being with myself. I'm creative. I love producing YouTube videos and content on social media. And by the way, so many people mistaken that for being an extrovert. But actually, we creators, we are huge introverts. We produce content because it just gives us the ability to create our voice and be a voice in the world and just do something that matters. But my point was before that, before my life in the Netherlands, let's say, I was all digital. So I had a YouTube channel. I was developing my Instagram accounts for a few businesses, and then I, especially during COVID, I have lost that feeling of human connection. It was like everything happened online, and every person I communicated with was not next to me. Was they weren't sitting next to me. They were somewhere, yeah, in the next building. But we were still talking on Zoom. And then once I moved to the Netherlands, I realized something. Um, that is a very small country. So I used to live in a city that was 70 million people, 17 million people, and now I live in a country that is 17 million people, 17 and a half. And I realized that it's super difficult to build a connection with people. And naturally, when you're an expat, when you arrive to a new country, you don't know anyone. You have no friends, no acquaintances, there's no one to support you. And for some moments, a few extra months, you can be okay with that, right? So you have lots of hassle with the documents and paperwork. And but right after that, there comes a moment when you have to build those connections and create that new life consciously. And that is especially important for entrepreneurs because if you move because you were invited to work in that company, in a certain company, then it's easier for you. You already have the employer who's able to solve most of your problems. You already have a social circle because you'll be going to the office and meeting your colleagues. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to consciously build those connections. So I became a part of certain communities, including TEDx The Hague, and I just started reaching out to people. And what I discovered is that what I didn't expect at that moment is that I thought that I was like I had good expertise in building trust because I used to build that trust online. But once I moved, I realized that that's not how it works here. There are also cross-cultural differences, right? So I had to relearn it and reinvent the way I communicate with the world by going offline and just seeing people and sometimes feeling stupid, sometimes feeling disappointed, and sometimes feeling just joyful because I met wonderful people, and now I became a true evangelist of human connection because I believe that's what gives us so much joy and belonging. Eventually, the sense of belonging.
Well said, Miss Anna. You focus on communication that feels like you in a world of personal branding templates and LinkedIn advice, how do you resist the pressure to sound like everyone else?
So it's interesting because this environment that we're in, when you're constantly scrolling through your feed on Instagram, on LinkedIn, it kind of pushes you, especially if you're reinventing yourself midlife and trying to switch your careers. It pushes you into really knowing who you are and declaring the whole world about it, about your new career and what you're looking for. And what I'm suggesting in the book, it has a very simple framework focused on communication. And there are 3 steps to kind of be grounded and anchored in who you are and not going, switching from one field to another and then from another to the next field. So the first part of that is the conversation with yourself, being clear about who you are, what your values are, what your experience is. We rarely take a moment to just pause and examine how much experience we've gained and look at this experience from different perspectives. So, for example, what I felt and what a lot of women I work with feel is that while you're still building your first career, um, you feel like you're a set of different pieces. So there's your professional life, which exists separately from who you are as a person. And then there is your personal life, which also exists separately. And then there might be a way, well, a few fields more that are not connected to anything. So embracing all these parts and owning all these parts, truly owning your experience, it's quite hard. And we rarely stop to do that. Now, once you do that, this conversation with yourself, we are moving to the conversation with your people. And your people are your safe environment. So these are the people you feel safe with. It might be your mentor, it might be your family, it might be your partner, whoever you feel safe with. And then, why is this needed? This is needed to build that safe environment. Because if you're trying something out and you're trying to figure out who you are, you're vulnerable and raw. And that's where lots of people just feel that the best way is to announce it to the world. Like whatever is your new field and new profession, just post it on LinkedIn that I decided to start my own company. And that's what I'm doing from this very moment. But it's a little bit misaligned with the concept of an authentic personal brand, because if you haven't built that safe environment where you get a chance to practice, where you get a chance to talk to people and just, not being pressured into knowing the exact answers, but just have an honest conversation and also try out things, because how can you know that you'll enjoy it or you'll be good at it without even trying? So you have to allow yourself some transition period. Reinvention doesn't happen instantly, and that's normal. If you allow yourself that transition period and you'll just stay away from social media, stay away from the noise of the world, don't feel pressured into doing something necessarily today, then you will be able to build that foundation. And only the third step is the conversation with the world. And a conversation with the world is basically building your personal brand. That's when you start to build your website and your LinkedIn page and your experience and just exposing and explaining to the world who you truly are.
Well said, Miss Anna. And to wrap up our discussion for today, you mentor women globally. If you could change one thing about how companies, communities, or families support midlife women in reinvention, what would it be?
Oh, that's such a good question. What would it be? One thing to for everyone. I would say just support the reinvention, because reinvention is part of life, right? No one stays at the same place your whole life. No one is doing just the same. So if you see that someone is morphing, that someone is reinventing themselves, just extend them an arm, have a conversation, connect with a person further, offer them human connection because human connection is healing. And then they will be able to reinvent themselves further.
Definitely. Well, give your hand, people. And Miss Anna, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Abstract Essay?
Thank you so much, Daniel. My book Reinventor is now available on Amazon, so you can check it out on Amazon.
Yes, definitely. And people, let's support Miss Anna because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering woman will rise. I have one more question, Miss Anna. 5 years from now, what do you hope a woman who once felt invisible in a new country will say about the moment she decided to use her voice again? And what role did your work play in that?
Uh, I'm sorry, could you say that again? The music was so loud.
No worries. 5 years from now, what
Yeah.
do you hope a woman who once felt invisible in a new country will say about the moment she decided to use her voice again? What the role did you work play in that?
Right. I want this woman to be proud of herself because something that I didn't realize and what I've heard over and over from many women who I interviewed was that, hesitation, because you never know at which moment you will be proud of yourself, right? And many of us don't even imagine this moment. There is no deadline for this. It's not fixed. So I would say that definitely moving to another country and moreover starting a new career and a new life is a choice for a very courageous woman. So just I would love to say that I admire your boldness and I admire your commitment to build a better life. And I want you to see that as well. That's why I wrote the book, and that's why I work with women who are reinventing themselves to help them build businesses or build a better life. And if you can see that, if you can look at what you've achieved at your experience, and instead of diminishing it, just be proud of it and see it from that perspective, that will already be a lot. It will transform your life for sure.
Well, Miss Anna, here on Abstract Essay, we salute you for empowering women all over the world. Please do come over on Book 101 Review and let's talk about again your book itself. So, Miss Anna, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, Marticon people, see you